In the fast-paced world of MSPs, SuperOps stands out as the AI-powered PSA RMM platform built for those who aim high. Tailored for rapid growth and scalability, their platform combines advanced automation, robust management tools, and real-time analytics to propel your MSP forward. SuperOps is more than software, it's a growth catalyst, ensuring your operations are as streamlined as they are effective. Discover how SuperOps can transform your MSP. Visit atmsp.link/SuperOps. Hey there, tech wizards and Microsoft 365 MSPs. Did you know that at least 75% of tenant configuration could be automated? The struggle is real when deploying an Entra ID tenant. Sifting through over 2,000 manual configurations for each tenant is not just overwhelming, it's anxiety-inducing due to the high risk of misconfigurations. But imagine automating the entire configuration process. That's where Simian Cloud shines. With Simian Cloud, you can template your ideal tenant configurations and deploy them with a click. Auto-deploy configurations for new clients, receive alerts on tenant drifts, and save your team endless hours of manual configurations. So why work for your tenant when it can work for you? Find out more at atmsp.link/CoreView. Comtech Systems specializes in UCaaS, CCaaS, internet circuits, and more. Their top-selling product, Microsoft Teams Voice, ensures seamless communication experiences. When you team up with Comtech, your customers get continuity with one dedicated rep, smooth onboarding processes, local deployment and ongoing US-based support, transparent pricing, and optimization of assets. With an impressive 4.9 star rating on Google Reviews, their rating reflects the dedication of their team. Ready to drive business success with Comtech? Schedule a one-on-one with Abby Smith at area code 412-519-2652 or check them out at atmsp.link/Comtech. Hey everybody, welcome back to another All Things MSP Live. Tonight we have another great show for you tonight, but before I get into that, I want to talk about our giveaway for tonight. And just a second, because I got to reach all the way over to my other desk. We are giving away a copy of Alan Edwards' Process and the Other P Word. If you don't have a copy of this book, you probably should. Talks about things like leaky buckets and documentation and all kinds of great stuff. Towards the end of the show, we'll be giving one of these away, and I have a special new tool for doing that. So make sure that you are commenting tonight, because comments are what are going to enter you in to the giveaway. All right. So I've already started that. So if you comment from here on out, you're going to be entered into the giveaway. Now, in addition to that, we do have some sponsors tonight. So one of our sponsors is CoreView. They're one of our elite sponsors here at All Things MSP. And they say, hey there, tech wizards and Microsoft 365 MSPs. Did you know that at least 75% of tenant configuration could be automated? The struggle is real when deploying an Entra ID tenant. Sifting through over 2,000 manual configurations for each tenant is not just overwhelming, it's anxiety-inducing due to the high risk of misconfigurations. But imagine automating the entire configuration process. That's where Simian Cloud shines. With Simian Cloud, you can template your ideal tenant configurations and deploy them with a click. Auto-deploy configurations for new clients, receive alerts on tenant drifts, that's when your configurations change over time, and save your team endless hours of manual configurations. So why work for your tenant when it can work for you? Find out more at atmsp.link/CoreView. All right, now, as I said, tonight I have a great guest, and this is a topic that you guys asked for, okay? You guys wanted more information on sales and marketing, and so we went out and found somebody to do that exact thing for you. So tonight, we're going to be talking about building a sales and marketing engine that actually produces results. And of course, to do that tonight, I have with me Terry Hedden from Marketopia. Hey, Terry.
Hey, Eric. Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you back on the show. And obviously, this one is a little bit different than the ones that you and I have done in the past, because in the past, they've just kind of been casual conversations. This time, we're actually going to dig into that building a sales and marketing engine. We actually have some slides tonight, so we're going to go through those. But for people who don't know who you are, Terry, go ahead and introduce yourself and introduce Marketopia.
Absolutely. First of all, it's an honor to give back. When I sold my MSP and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do next, it was a little too early to fully retire at age 38. But I knew one thing, which is that I was able to grow quicker than most, and wanted to do what I could to help other people do the exact same thing. I think a lot of people in our industry struggle to grow. My background prior to running an MSP, they grew to 49 people in 6.5 years, all centered around management consulting. I have an undergrad and grad degree from the University of Florida, and was at Ernst & Young Management Consulting. I worked in 29 countries and 30 states, helping big companies grow and use technology to do that. And then decided to join with my partner, Andra, and start a company dedicated to helping MSPs do the exact same thing. So these days, Marketopia has nearly 100 people, operations in Florida, not too far from the ConnectWise office, and in London, in the Central District of London, which serves the EMEA practice. So we've got a great group of people. We've been around 10 years almost. Eric, if you can believe that, August will be 10 years. So we've sent hundreds of thousands of emails and social posts, millions, in fact, and have generated around 12,000 appointments for MSPs. So we know a thing or two about what it takes to produce a consistent flow of leads. And I'm eager to share it with the All Things MSP community and do what I can to help other people achieve what I did, and hopefully sell their business for enough to make it a very comfortable retirement.
Well, and that's what a lot of them are looking for, right? They're looking for that exit, maybe to retire, maybe to do something else. And to drive that valuation, you have to have a sales and marketing engine that is actually producing results, because otherwise you're only going to be attractive to another MSP maybe that already has that part solved. If you have that part solved, you're going to be attractive to a lot more people. So Terry, how do you want to do this tonight? You want to just go ahead and start the slides, and then we can just kind of discuss them as we go forward?
I love it, Eric. I welcome your questions, and I think between the two of us, hopefully we can read the minds of the audience and maybe respond to their comments as they come in.
Yeah, that's what the comment section is for. So actually, the comment section is for two things tonight. Make sure that you put a comment in so that you're entered into the drawing for the giveaway of the book, but also comment with your questions, because this is an open forum. We do want to answer those questions for you. And, we have an expert here in sales and marketing who did this for his own MSP. So this is something that you should listen to tonight. And if you have questions, you should ask them. And then, Keith, you did not pass retirement age over 100 years ago. You are still alive and kicking and have a very successful MSP.
Eric, I think Keith may be onto something. I think like a lot of people in the MSP industry, it's like dog years. 1 year as an MSP is kind of like 7 years. So maybe Keith is actually onto something. He's probably been doing this for 20 years, and it feels like 100.
I know a lot of us feel like we've been doing it that long.
Yeah. It's a great industry filled with great people, and it's a lot easier now to grow than it was when I started in 2003. I launched my MSP, and man, it's a whole lot easier now. There was no Marketopia back then. I couldn't just make a phone call and get 10 leads a month for my sales team. So Keith, hopefully we can get you where you need to be and retire before you hit 200.
All right. So Terry, I've got your slide deck up. Hopefully you have control over that. And why don't you give us a little intro here?
Yeah. This, it's not many slides. It's designed to be an interactive, collaboration and conversation around growing your business. A lot of people in this industry, frankly, depend a lot on luck. And what I mean by luck is when you ask them what their growth strategy is, it centers around word of mouth leads, which tends to be 90% luck. You're hoping that one of the customers you have is not just happy, but so happy that when anyone in the world mentions anything that you might be able to help with, they bring up your name. And what I like to kind of equate that to is leaving your dreams up to chance. At the end of the day, until you're doing what it takes to achieve your goal is just a fantasy. It's a dream. And you're hoping that maybe, just maybe, you'll get that big customer that'll get you where you need to go, or you'll retain all the customers you have and add more. When that's a choice. It's not difficult to get a new qualified appointment. It's not difficult to get a new customer. It's not rocket science. In fact, as you'll find out today and the next time we get together, it's really simple math. You just have to do what it takes to achieve your goals, and they become expectations. So, I started my career at Ernst & Young. I traveled around the world helping people like Jack Welch and Bob Nardelli, achieve their goals, help companies like GE and Home Depot and CSX, Wells Fargo, and, wanted to return to the roots that I had and my family and start a business. So I moved back to Tampa Bay and started an MSP. I had $24,500. That's all I had. And I was not technically knowledgeable. I still have never built a computer, racked a server. I've not done a lot of the things that people like you, Eric, and your audience could do with their eyes closed. To me, is like magical. What I knew was business. I knew how to grow, and I knew how to, kind of really turn my dreams into a plan and start executing on that plan. So for the first 2 years of our operation, we didn't accept new customers more days than we did. And there are very few MSPs, as I come to learn, that really have that whole thing figured out. So my hope today is to get everyone out there a picture like the one you see on the right, where there's 4 gentlemen. Those are the people that bought my MSP. They own the largest privately held copier equipment dealer in the United States. And I wasn't even for sale. They came after me, and we struck a deal that led to a comfortable life for myself and my family, and really accomplishing a lifelong dream, which was to sell a business, not just give it to a friend or shut it down or that type of thing, but truly, have a transaction where you get a wire in your bank account that's life-changing. And I was honored to do that. And I was honored to be considered viable for those two very savvy business people. And so, my goal today is to really talk about that. My journey started in 2003, as I mentioned. In 2012, I sold and retired. And then a couple of years later, launched Marketopia. So here we are entering our 10th year and completing our 10th year. And we are very proud of what we've accomplished and help other people accomplish in the channel. I've been on the Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies 10 times, 5 times as an MSP and 5 times as a vendor that helps MSPs grow. So, what we're going to talk about is not theory. It's not something I read in a book. I literally live the life of an MSP, struggling with payroll, struggling with growth, struggling to figure out what managed services even look like. We've really helped a lot of companies achieve their goals. We just had a customer that I could have bought their MSP for $1 when they came to me, and a couple of years later they sold for $6 million. And there's a lot of people in this industry that I'd love to tell that story about. And for most people, it's all about marketing and lead generation. I don't know of a problem that MSPs have that's bigger than that. Do you, Eric?
No, and it's one of the most common questions asked, and it was one of the top 3 things that people said they wanted to learn about when I put out the 2024 member poll several weeks ago. So it's definitely something that's on the top of mind for everybody. It's something that most MSPs struggle with because they didn't come from your background, right? They come from the technical background, just like I did, had no idea what to do with sales and marketing, maybe listen to some of these other people in the industry, maybe had some results with that, maybe not. But one of the things that sets you apart is you've actually done it as an MSP, and you come at it from the point of view that you're not a technician turned entrepreneur. You are an entrepreneur turned entrepreneur. So, right. It's a difference, and learning from people like that is something that technicians need to take hold of and learn how to do.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll say this, Eric, for everyone out there who's thinking that marketing and sales are these magical boxes that they can't figure out, know that my perspective is the exact opposite. I find that second nature and simple and easy and mathematical and logical. And I think what most MSPs do, the engineering, the customer service, the late nights, the offline defrag of an exchange store, to me, that is hard. And the beautiful thing is that marketing and sales is actually quite easy. When you start doing what it takes to get the leads you need, you'll find that they come consistently. And with a flow of leads, you can build a sales machine and grow your revenue, whether it's $3,000 a month recurring, you want to grow it, or $30,000 or $300,000. Everything is possible if you get the leads that you need to accomplish your goal. So, my point is that it's not that difficult. So we're going to go through a very simple, easy to follow methodology today. There's obviously detail behind it. But I want everyone to know that it's not that complicated. It's not that difficult. It's just simple math. And we're going to give you a plan today.
Awesome. Well, let's get started then.
Okay. The number one most important thing that you have to realize is that word of mouth is not going to get you where you're trying to go. For most MSPs, it is how they start. Usually it's an accidental thing. Most of the time, it starts off with somebody asking for help on their computer, and that leads to bringing you to the office to maybe helping you there, maybe even to buy a franchise like a Nerds to Go or some other franchise, a CMIT, and that's how you enter the space. Most people come in with an ability to quickly gather customers by just working your network, your uncle, your uncle's friends, maybe someone you ran to a chamber event, a good customer that brings in a friend of theirs. It usually is the best way to grow a very, very young MSP. And what I mean by that is it'll get you to 500, 750, maybe 1.2 million, and then it will fail you. And it has failed 100% of people that I know that have depended on it, because at some point you start losing customers, be it because they go out of business or get bought, or someone comes and offers them your services or something similar for $1 less per month, you will lose customers. And eventually the word, as you grow that denominator, the number of net new customers coming in via word of mouth becomes level or even less than the customers that are leaving out the bottom. And that's how you create a lifestyle business in this industry. And there's a lot of them. And it's quite unfortunate because the key is a mental mindset, which is that I'm not going to leave my success to chance. I'm not going to trust other people that don't really care about my success with my success. I'm going to develop a lead generation program that will give me as a salesperson, business owner, or my sales team the input required to get the output that I expect, which is net new managed services prospects. And, it's really not that difficult, but it starts with that mindset, which is that I'm not going to leave my success to chance. I'm going to do what it takes to achieve my goals. I'm going to run a balanced business that's designed to run without me so that it can one day and therefore make me successful and wealthy when I sell it. So once you get through that mindset that word of mouth isn't good enough, a lifestyle business isn't good enough, I want to grow big, and be in that top 1% of MSPs. And how do you do that? Really starts off with marketing. Most people underestimate how much of the buying decision is made before you even talk to a salesperson. And one way you'll know the difference between a business person and a business owner is when you ask them what their close ratio is. And people say, oh, it's 100%, 90%, 80%. I'll say, really? How many people came to your website yesterday? I don't know. Well, then how do you know that number, right? If 20 people came to your website that are interested in your services, you don't even know that there were 20. How do you know what your close ratio even is? Because those are leads. And people make the buy decision without ever even talking to you. And you know that, Eric, you make a lot of decisions, probably looking at Amazon reviews, checking out people's websites.
Yep.
A lot of decisions aren't made these days talking to a salesperson, yet a lot of MSPs consider their close ratio, the number of leads they've typed into their PSA tool compared to the ones that actually close. And so you've got to market your business, have a great brand out there that's well-known and top of mind so that when that moment comes, when the incumbent service provider, be it in-house or another MSP, fails that company, your business comes to mind and they pick up the phone or click the link or fill out a form and engage you and therefore get you into the actual consideration phase of a sales process. So marketing is critically important. Helping people looking for people like you, as well as looking for people that might be looking for someone like you, are very important, as is creating a great first impression and top of mind brand awareness so that when the time comes, they think of you.
Yeah. And so many people don't understand today the dynamic of people shopping without ever contacting you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is so important to build the proper awareness and be where your customers are, where they look for things, where they hang out, whether it's on social media, whether it's physically. I mean, back in the day, one of the best pieces of advertisement, best pieces of marketing I ever used was a bench outside the local sports bar, which is where all the business people went to go have lunch. Probably I would bet almost everybody in town went to that sports bar once a week, or at least once every 2 weeks for lunch, because we didn't have a lot of options in Mount Dora back in the day. So I also wanted to bring up the word of mouth thing, because so many people still believe in word of mouth. The problem is so much has changed with word of mouth. Yes, it still works. It just doesn't work as well as it used to, because there are many more MSPs. People need MSPs more than they used to, because remember back when I was doing MSP, computers were still almost a nice to have. They weren't a have to have. Now they are a public utility almost.
Literally.
You can't get away with it. It's like having electricity or a telephone, probably more like a telephone. And so there are people out there who come from a business background, who are doing the types of marketing that need to be done to keep them top of mind. And if you're not competing in that, you're going to have a hard time growing.
I totally agree. I like to kind of tell people, that Your goal number one is for when people are looking for someone like you, they find you or think of you, right? And then after that's done, you want to go out there and try to find people who might be interested in your business. And that's where marketing comes in. How do you create that top of mind awareness? How do you create that environment when you call them, they take the call? That's where marketing comes in. And it's not lead generation. To me, those are two very different things. And that's one of the problems with our industry is there's a lot of people out there that have good intentions. They're trying to make a difference and help, and I'm not discounting them or disparaging them, but I will say that they're not given the whole story, right?
Right.
If you send out 5,000 postcards 3 times, magic doesn't happen. It's not that simple. These days you have to be everywhere and touch people in different mediums at different times and on a regular and consistent basis. And you can't just send out 5,000 postcards and wait for the phone to ring. And then even if it does, are you going to get the number of leads you mathematically need to achieve your goals? That's a different step. And we call that lead generation at Marketopia, which is an extension of marketing, yes, but it's the linkage between marketing and sales.
And that's a really good way to explain it too, because there has to be a linkage between marketing and sales to get over that chasm that's created.
Exactly. It's important to understand that marketing is an important role. You have to have a good brand. When there's an opportunity, you have to be there so that you're engaged by that prospect, so that you have a chance to win the deal. Marketing's job, in my opinion, is to generate opportunity for the sales team. Marketing finds leads and generates demands for a company's product or service. A salesperson and a marketing person are two very different human beings. They're different college degrees. In fact, salespeople often don't even have a college degree. They're closers. They're good at generating trust, becoming likable, and getting people to sign a contract. Whereas a marketer is a totally different animal. They're a content writer. They're a designer. They're a search engine optimizer. They're more of a creative type for the most part. And if you put a marketing person in a sales role, they would fail 99% of the time, which is why most MSPs that expect their sales team to generate their own leads also fail 99% of the time. Completely different professions, completely different specialties, and one is never or almost never good at the other. What we see is that, a salesperson for the average Joe MSP is a really bad job. There's a 99% chance of failure. You're going to get, people are going to put too much pressure on you, too much weight on you, expect too much of you. They're going to pay a lot for your base salary and then give you a phone book or the digital equivalent of a phone book and wish you luck. And then in 90 days or 120 days, their patience is worn thin and they're ready to get rid of you and often do. The reality is that without leads, salespeople are forced to prospect and they're not very good at it. So they fake it or just aren't successful at it. And they're left sitting there with an expectation of 3 new customers a month or 2 new customers a month or 10 new customers a month. And even with 100% close ratio, they're never going to get there because they're not getting enough inbound leads to do that. So it's really important for a CEO that wants to be good at their job to do that math and say, listen, a reasonable close ratio for a salesperson in a competitive industry like managed services might be 25%. So if you want 2 new customers a month per sales rep, you need to give them 4 times 2 or 8 qualified opportunities a month to have a reasonable expectation. If not, you're being unfair and you're not giving the salesperson what they need. It'd be kind of like hiring a tech and not giving them a laptop or any of the tools required or the transportation required to go be an engineer, right? If you hire an MSP for a help desk and don't give them an RMM, they're going to fail, right? Or be very inefficient. And that's the same thing in a salesperson. What the input to a sales department that's successful is qualified leads. And we believe that to be in the form of a qualified appointment, not just a name and a number for someone to call.
Right. And it's almost a different kind of person because your lead generation machine is all numbers, right? It's how many dials can you do? It's how many emails can you send? It's very much just a tactical, action oriented motion, whereas sales is more of a finesse game, right?
Exactly.
To close a deal, they have to actually connect and have a relationship with that lead in order to move them down the sales process.
Exactly. I don't have the stats available, but I'll see if I can find them while we're chatting here. You're exactly right, Eric. If you're making 1,000 calls a month and getting 2 appointments and you want 4 appointments, I can promise you that the number is probably around 2 times 1,000 or 2,000 calls a month. And it's just math, right? If you double the effort, You're going to double the results. And you might get a little bit better. And certainly if you hire an expert firm or something like that, they're going to be better than an amateur. But at the end of the day, it's a grind. It's work. Our team generates 5, 6, 7, 800 net new appointments a month, but they're making 200 outbound calls per appointment to get there. They're working hard to produce those appointments, and it's not easy, but it's well worth it, because an MSP that gets the leads they need can achieve just anything that the MSP's desires are.
Yep.
All right. So how do you get the number of leads you need, right? There's 4 real steps. 1 is to know the exact number of leads you need. And I'm not going to dive into a lot of detail, but what I will say is this. If you want to know that number, what does your dream require each month? Like, what is your quantifiable goal of qualified appointments that you need to insert into your sales machine? Put a note in the chat, reach out to me or reach out to Eric, and he'll get in touch with me. I will do that for free for every single one of your listeners. No one should wonder what it's going to take to achieve their dreams. And no one should have a disconnect between what they're doing and what their dreams are, right? That's how you lead to disappointment and never achieving that dream. So I want to do that free for everybody. It's a conversation, takes 15 minutes, maybe 30, and I will literally do that for free to help your entire community really translate their dreams into requirements on a monthly basis.
And Terry, that's a great offer, and we truly appreciate it. We do have a question from Keith that I want to go ahead and pop up here, since we're talking about numbers. He's saying, when you start playing numbers, how do you fine tune the funnel to clients that fit your base? The ones that are willing to spend on the type of solution that you provide. Because like in Keith's case, Keith is very much about very specific solutions for very specific clients. And so is that where like your ideal client profile and things come in?
Exactly. And to be honest with you, Keith, that there's really 2 ways of answering that question. Number 1, you got to figure out who your customers really are. What is your ideal prospect profile? Now, it's kind of a trick question you're asking, because once you identify who would be a prospect for your product or service, you want to market to them, and you want to market to them based on their business needs. You're not trying to find someone that's willing to pay for your products or service. Your goal is to find someone who needs it or should have it or wants to have it. From there, it's the salesperson's job to convince the customer that it's worth investing in. It takes a great sales methodology to convert someone who's casually interested in the benefits of your product or service into someone willing to pay for it. Those are 2 very different things, but that is the role of a salesperson, right? If you ask a marketer to find people who are willing to pay for something, but there's no way for them to listen to the customer, understand the customer's needs, craft a solution that meets those needs, and then convey in a very convincing way the value proposition that your product or service brings, it's not really a fair question, right? All you got to do is find someone who's interested, and then let the salesperson do what they do. And that is hopefully turn that need or want or dream into a signed contract, 5 years, annual escalations, auto renewal clauses. Those are the kinds of things that make MSPs wealthy.
Yeah. Now, I think there is a difference, and I want to point that out, between willing to spend and able to spend, because part of your ideal client profile is being able to identify those types of clients that are not just willing to spend, because they might be willing, but they might not be able. And so you want to make sure that in some sort of the qualification or the sales discovery process as you're going through, that you make sure that they do fit in the category of clients that can afford your services, because it doesn't do you any good. It wastes everybody's time to sell to somebody that can't afford you in the first place.
I love the word can't or won't. The reality is you don't have to find people who are willing to. You have to find people who could. And
Right.
what I mean by that is, let's use SentinelOne. I think it's a great technology out there that a lot of people in the MSP land are selling and making success with. No end user customers, like, they wake up one morning and go, man, I just have to have SentinelOne, right? And if you go to the average company out there and try to sell them SentinelOne as a part of your security stack, they may balk at the cost. It's not cheap to get that level of security. And so if you say, I want someone who's willing to spend it, in other words, I'm willing to buy SentinelOne today, that's going to be a very small number. Now, if you try to help educate them on the risk of not having that, a greater percentage would find the money or be willing to invest the money to get that. And even more so, if you can either explain to them the consequence of a hack, or God forbid they are victims of a hack, all of a sudden it's amazing how willing people are to spend money. And so it's important that you do exactly what you said, Eric, and not take it to another level. In other words, if someone says, I want someone who tells me prior to the appointment that they're willing to spend $150 per user for managed service, I will literally tell them that they should expect about 10% of what I could give them if the answer was would be willing, right? With a compelling value proposition, with a compelling sales presentation, they can find the time, find the money, and find the courage to invest in a security stack that would be good for their business. So I love your word choice there. It's not people who have the budget today. It could make the budget. So that's right. Awesome. All right. And then, so once we know who we're targeting, and this is super important for MSPs. We're not Coca-Cola. We don't have $1 billion marketing budget. We can't just spray and pray and just shoot buckshot or dove shot into the air and hope we hit a bird. We've got to go after the people not only that need our products or services, but also that we're good enough to sell to and good enough to serve, right? Because what good is a lead that you can't close? If you don't have the advanced salesmanship required to win an enterprise deal, you probably shouldn't target those. And very similarly, if a one-person MSP, one-person end user is not a viable prospect mathematically, we shouldn't target them either. Same thing goes with industry, company size, geography. It's important to aim your gun, your marketing gun, in the direction of where your ideal prospects are. And once you have that, that's when you launch that robust marketing effort, right? Where you are literally starting to fire that gun at people that fit this ideal prospect profile, right? To create that ideal prospect profile, you got to look internal. Who are the customers that you serve today? What problems do you solve well? Right? What do your current clients look like, right? If you're good at medical, you're going to have medical clients. And if you don't have any medical clients, you should ask yourself if you have the solution set or salesmanship to go after that industry. How does your market look like, right? Do you have enough of the viable prospects out there? Is there a market for your service in that area? And then you have to ask yourself, how do you reach them, right? How do they like to communicate? And then what's going to make them actually buy from you, right? Is it compliance? Is it uptime? Is it fear, uncertainty, and doubt? Is it peace of mind that they're seeking? Like, why would they take action? And it's really important to understand that everybody has a different motivator. Every industry has a different motivator. You got to know what the motivations are for the people you're actually targeting, because without that, it's very difficult for them to actually be willing to transact and buy what it is you're trying to sell. You have to hit their hot button for them to be willing to spend what it takes to do managed services and do MSSP security well. It's not cheap. So you've got to find people and communicate to them in a way where it's compelling enough for them to take action.
Awesome. And this is where, we talk about the ideal prospect profile and the ideal client profile. It's very important for you to look inward and find those things and get those answers, because if you don't, again, it's going to be the buckshot. It's going to be throwing spaghetti at a wall. and
Yep.
it's much less effective.
Yep. I love it. And you know, Keith, you're saying, how do I get those people? It's not difficult to find a list. What you want to do is to be unemotional about it and be factual and logical and say, okay, who's a viable prospect for me? Don't go in there and say, oh, I only want 50 seats and up, 100 seats and up, 250 seats and up, because it's important to realize that as soon as you say 20 seats and up, you've eliminated 75% of all businesses. So you've got to have your target market be a viable one for you, to have enough quantity for you to be successful. And for most MSPs, that has a low end of probably around 5 employees. And that's at that point, people are usually willing to spend enough per user to make it financially viable. For you, it might be a 1 person, right? We have customers that have a 1 person minimum. We have some that have a 10, some that have a 50. And frankly, we've had some that have $1 billion as a minimum viable prospect. So figure out what your customers look like, what the industry they're in, who the decision makers and influencers are, what the geographic criteria is for your addressable market, what size companies you're looking after, and then invest in a great list, a social media verified list that's current. Invest in a good one, because there's nothing more frustrating than to spend a lot of money shooting buckshot in the wrong direction, if you will, right? Going back to the hunting analogy. So it's important to have a great list and people that are filled. It's a big enough list and filled with people that not only need your products and services, but that you're able to close and serve.
Yep.
All right. Once you have that ideal prospect profile, okay, now I know I made the mental commitment to go do this. I'm going to grow my business and stop running a lifestyle business. I have accepted the fact that word of mouth is not where I'm trying to go. I figured out who would be good prospects for my products and service. I've invested in a great list, and at that point, you've got to market, and you can't do one of these things. There's one of the frustrations that I have. The 2 great frustrations I have in this business is, one, people who go out there and sell subscriptions to things by talking about grand things that don't line up with reality. Like, you're not going to get a lot of customers that aren't word of mouth leads if you're trying to charge 2 or 3 times what the going rate is for your products or services, right? If you're trying to get $350 per user and your market it's 100 or 125, you're going to have one heck of a time, unless it's your uncle's best friend or something like that. You're going to have to earn that. You have to earn that right. And what I found is that it's critically important that you invest in reaching out to those prospective ideal people who fit your ideal prospect profile in many different ways, over time, professionally. And we separate that into 3 categories. One is inbound marketing. This is where you're helping people that are looking for you find you. So think a great website that's optimized for Google or ChatGPT, where it's optimized, where people are searching for something that you can help with, they find you. Also, articles online. If someone goes into LinkedIn and types in SentinelOne, you come up, or avoiding IT downtime, or how to grow a great goatee. You optimize your social profiles, and you have content in there that establishes you as a credible option to help them address their business needs. Email marketing, we also consider inbound. These days, the chance of getting a customer via email is almost 0, right? So that's inbound marketing. Outbound marketing is reaching out to people who first you marketed to, and second, cold people, to generate warmth, to create interest in your products or services. The 2 most common ones for us are there are some people who very strongly believe in direct mail, and direct mail can work if you're committed to it over the long term. But for me, the most common option is cold and warm calling. People cold are ones that have not heard of you before, and you're calling them. Warm calling is where you've marketed to them first over maybe email or social, and then you call them. That's a warm call. That's outbound marketing. That's where you're trying to find prospects who might be interested in you. So that's outbound marketing, is the alternative strategy. And then the last one is calling them all, and that's step 4 in the marketing program. Before I jump to that, though, talk to me about step 3, Eric. What's worked for you? What have you seen successful out there in the channel?
So I think we're weird, right? I mean, because MSPs,
Are we? Are we? I thought we were normal. I thought everyone else was weird. It's us.
no, we're weird. And I think it comes from the fact that we serve a lot of different audiences, right? You have people who do residential customers, you have people who do micro businesses, you have ones that do larger than that, and then you have ones that do even larger than that. And all of those are very different, and the marketing that reaches them is different. For residential, it's going to be very, very different. And we don't want to talk about that here. Not to take away from anybody who's doing it, because if you're doing white glove for high income individuals, there's definitely a market there, but it's very different. For me, a lot of the things that I did don't apply today because they were, 10 years ago, they just don't count anymore. But what I'm seeing is people who are taking the time to create content that they can put across their website that is SEO capable, that they can put into the different social media arenas that their ideal prospect lives in. Like, that if you're serving, say, the construction industry, that they hang out in different LinkedIn groups, or maybe because they're smaller construction companies, they hang out in the Chamber of Commerce for your local area. It really depends on where they are as to what methodology and what tactics you're going to use.
Totally agree. I totally agree. One of the things that I've seen is that, well, first of all, content marketing is awesome. There's no question that there's value there. It helps your website be more friendly to Google and therefore more likely to come up first. It's more likely to have content that resonates with someone when they're reading it. If they see themselves in the article or their pain point in the article, it definitely makes a difference. Firm believers in it. I think, Eric, you're a leader in my mind with respect to the use of social media. You keep stuff out there on a regular basis. You do a great job of putting professional content out there that's very consumable. And I think a lot of people out there could learn from you and emulate you. And the reality is that it takes time to do that. And I know you invest a lot of time. It's not easy to look as good as you do. But I think a lot of people can learn from that. I love to see people, have content out there from maybe a professional firm, complement that with real organic content that you create, and that's where I think you're really good at that. You create good stuff that is professional yet down to earth and relatable to the reader. And I think MSPs could do that easily, especially within social platforms and communities online, whether it's a Reddit group or a Facebook group or a LinkedIn group, and just be out there in the community, helping people, trying to make a difference and establishing yourself as a thought leader so that when people think of that problem, they think of you.
Yep. And that goes back to exactly where we started this conversation earlier, is you have to be out there at the right time for them to find you when they need you. Because, it's one of those things where you have to be out there enough that you are top of mind. Because if you're not, whoever is going to get the phone call or the email, and it's not going to be you.
Exactly. And it's funny. Some of our most successful. So we have clients who are putting on 10, 20,000 a month RMR onto their P&L, some 30. And the more I study them, the more I realize how important time is, commitment, right? There's a reason you want to get into a marketing lead generation program with some sort of commitment to keep yourself disciplined, because the next email, the next call could be the one that generates the appointment. And what helps me understand that is that our most successful customers, a significant percentage, maybe half of all of their net new sales in any given year were actually appointments from the prior year or the year before that. In other words, in our business, sometimes you can close a deal in a minute, an hour, a day, a week, maybe a month, maybe 90 days being an average. But the reality is, in a community that we all serve, our home community, there's a finite number of businesses, and anyone who doesn't buy from you today is, if you leave them with a good experience, built a relationship, when that contract's up in a year, where that MSP disappoints them, they're going to reach out and call you. And that's where a lot of your sales come from, is by building those relationships over time and being patient yet tenacious.
Yeah, because if they were valuable enough to reach out to you and take a sales call, right? Mm-hmm. they are valuable enough to nurture long-term, because maybe you weren't a fit right then, or maybe they were contractually obligated, like you mentioned, to somebody else for the next 6 months. And it's until that problem comes up again or that contract expires that you need to be nurturing those valuable prospects in order to capture them, capture the value from them at the time that they're ready to give up the value and transfer that value to you.
Exactly. Absolutely. Exactly. Cool. So one of the things, so we talked about the $350 a user perturbs me. The other one is that these solutions out there that do one thing make it seem like all you need to do is one thing. Having a website that no one finds because you're not marketing it is worthless. It's like a billboard in the desert. Having a social media profile and not having good posts out there is equally worthless. Content marketing is important, but not if you don't get that content where it needs to be and have contents that SEO optimize, right? You have to be tenacious and get the word out there through all of the different things that we've talked about today on this slide, right? You don't pick between SEO and outbound calling. You do both. You don't sit and put all your hat on content marketing and have a crappy website and hope that it's going to produce a result. You've got to do them all. So find a way that you can cost effectively do that. And all of a sudden you'll start creating that brand equity that is so critical to helping you generate appointments, right? Which is at least having people know who you are and think positively of you. And then when you get to that point, you got to call people. You got to pick up the phone. We, on average, we like the formula that we believe works the best after 10 years of doing this, working with thousands of MSPs, tens of thousands of salespeople, is that you need 5, 10, maybe even 15 net new qualified appointments per month for a salesperson to be very successful. And when I say successful, generating 5, 10, 15, 20,000 net new recurring a month. That's what, to me, is a successful managed services salesperson. And to do that, you have to market to those people and you call them. To get that number of appointments, you're going to have to make probably 2,000 calls or more per month. And salespeople aren't going to do a good job at that. That's a different profession. It's called outbound call center or outbound prospecting or appointment setter. And a really, really good salesperson is going to look at you like you're insane if you ask them to make 2,000 outbound calls a month. That's like asking the Kentucky Derby winner to till the soil at a farm in North Carolina. It makes zero sense. And the horse is going to look at you and go, I wasn't made for this. And that's what every good salesperson should do. If they want to succeed, they should demand the number of leads mathematically they need to achieve the sales goals that their company has for them. And there's only 2 ways to do that in my world, right? At a reliable way. One is digital marketing, pay-per-click in social, especially LinkedIn, or Google, Bing. In the not too distant future, I think all the AI platforms will be opportunities for digital marketing. And then outbound calling. We have a room with 50, 60 people making roughly 2,000 outbound calls a month for and produce thousands of appointments that result in hundreds of deals a year. That's how you get it done. You have to call people that you market to.
Yeah, it truly is a numbers game. And yes, like you mentioned before, you can do direct mail. The numbers are higher, right? Phone calls are going to produce more results. And at this point, they're cheaper than direct mail a lot of times, because, we're talking about those appointment setters, sales development reps, if you're in the vendor side of the world, right? Yes, it's another body, and bodies are expensive, but they're less expensive than a salesperson. Or you can outsource it to somebody like Marketopia.
And I can appreciate both ways. If you're very good at marketing, you just need resources, hire them. If you're not good at marketing, maybe consider partnering. My MSP, we had 5 people in my marketing department. There was no Marketopia back then, right? As I remember, in fact, I tried one of the off-the-shelf sort of binder kind of investments that was a pre-built kit that I could use to market, and I I looked at it one time and realized that I was never going to send anything like that out to my customers because I wanted my brand to mean more. And so I hired a 5-person marketing team, and I invested what it took to do that, which of course was, I don't even know, 50 grand a month, something, and 30 grand a month, maybe. Spend a tremendous amount of money to grow 50% a year. I knew what my business goals were, and I wasn't going to achieve them going on the cheap. I had to do what it takes. Well, these days, like you say, there's Marketopia, there's other companies out there. In my mind, the most important thing is to find a firm who's going to be accountable for results. Doing enough of what it takes to be successful. Start talking to you about how many qualified appointments they're going to generate, not how many clicks they're going to get you or how many posts they're going to make for you. But people are going to help you go all the way down. And that's not enough either for most MSPs. For most MSPs that get qualified appointments will still fail. And that's another sort of epiphany that I'll leave you with, Eric. And I really did not, my team and even my customers beat that into my head for probably 8 years before I realized the problem. Most MSPs have a sales process built on word of mouth leads, right? If your uncle referred you in, it's going to have a very different sales process than if that person's a stranger that doesn't know you from Adam.
Very
And
much.
you have to have a great sales process that's designed to turn a stranger into a long-term, committed 3, 5, 10-year contractually obligated payer of managed IT services. So find a firm that can market for you, do lead generation for you, and then teach you how to close those leads so that you can actually achieve your goals.
And there is one other type, I think, of
All right.
person who might be listening to this, and
Okay.
that is the solo MSP. Because
Yep.
you may have just started, it may be a lifestyle business that you want to grow quickly. Make 100 calls a month, make 200 calls a month. Start somewhere, because I guarantee you, if you start doing that, you'll see some results. Maybe not right away, because again, not a lot of numbers, right? And you have to have a lot of numbers, see a lot of results. But you'll at least see how it works, and you'll understand the process before you go out and hire internally or hire somebody like Marketopia. And, Terry, I think we'll leave them with this. Yes, we'll leave them with the epiphany that you left them with, but we're also going to leave them with the fact that next time on April 24th, we're going to do another live stream with Terry, and we are going to talk about how to increase your valuation in 10 years to be able to hit a valuation of $10 million. And I think that's something that a lot of MSPs want to know about right now. And I think it's something that's valuable to this audience because it's a practical goal. 10 years, $10 million. I think anybody, it doesn't matter where you're starting today, can get to that goal in this business if you follow the right processes.
Exactly. It's not that hard. It's just a matter of doing what it takes to achieve it.
All right, Terry. Any last words?
Eric, I appreciate you, man. I just want you, on behalf of the entire MSP community, we appreciate you, man, bringing guests on that can bring value, putting stuff out there that people enjoy consuming. I just want you to know that not just myself and the team at Marketopia, but I know all the listeners out there, we appreciate you and your community. And everyone that's on this community deserves to be a winner, deserves to achieve their dreams. I'm going to do everything in my power to help make that happen.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Terry. And speaking of winners, we have a giveaway. So,
All right.
Terry, I'm going to put you off into the green room, and I'll be back to you in just a minute.
All right. Thanks, Eric.
All right, everybody. Now, so I have, this is the first time we're doing a giveaway. If you are here and you're watching, go ahead and comment to make sure you're put into the giveaway, because at this point, I'm pretty sure I know who's going to get the giveaway if nobody else comments. And he probably already has a copy of this book. So, but we'll see. Let me go ahead and pull up. I need to go ahead and pull up that screen. Have to find the right one, of course. There we go. Oh, let's see. And Well, for some reason, because technology. Let's see if we can do this again. Share screen. We have to pick the right one. Actually, let me just share entire screen because that will probably work better. No, it just doesn't want to work. Or, you know what? I'm just going to do the drawing and I'm going to tell everybody who won. And it's working on it. It's working on it. And I can't count me. So, yes, the winner is Keith Nelson. So, Keith, I will be in contact with you about the prize winnings, the giveaway. And other than that, everybody just make sure that you're checking out Uncle Marv. He comes on after us. Who's he got on tonight? He's got somebody from ConnectWise on tonight. So join that. It's going to be a great show next week. We have Gradient coming on. They have a brand new announcement coming out on Monday, and we're going to be talking about that announcement. I can't talk about it now because it's still a secret, but we will talk about it on the live stream next Wednesday. And then, of course, Terry will be back on the 24th to talk about getting an MSP from 10 million, from zero. We'll start at zero to $10 million in 10 years so that you can have the exit that you deserve. All right. Good night. I'll see you on the next one.